The other night, I couldn't sleep. So I did what I think a lot of people do when they can't sleep. I started scrolling on my phone. Not social media, my camera roll. Years of random photos and videos I haven't looked at in forever. Pictures of old cars, screenshots, even receipts. Random nonsense I probably should have deleted years ago. And then I landed somewhere around 2021. For a while, I just kept scrolling, photo after photo, memory after memory, until I stopped on one picture. Nothing special about it. If I showed it to you, you'd probably scroll right past it anyways. But for some reason, I just sat there looking at it. And eventually I caught myself thinking, man, where'd that guy go? Not because he looked different, not because life was better. Honestly, life is probably better now in a lot of ways. But I remembered how he felt. And that's what got me. Back then, there was always something I was excited about. Not every day, not every minute, but there was always something. A goal, an idea, a project. Something I couldn't stop thinking about. Something I wanted to get better at. Something I wanted to build. And looking at that picture, I realized I haven't felt that way in a while. At first I thought maybe I was just being nostalgic. You know how memories work. Your brain has a funny way of editing things. It removes the boring parts, the frustrating parts, the bad days, and leaves behind the highlights. So I kept scrolling, trying to prove myself wrong. But the further back I went, the more I noticed a pattern. The photos weren't really what stood out. It was what I remember doing when those photos were taken. I remember coming home and spending hours recording music, not because anyone was listening. Most people never even heard any of it. I remember getting excited over the things that probably sound ridiculous now. A new idea, a new goal, a new challenge. I remembered feeling like there was always something around the corner. And then I started asking myself a question. What actually changed? Because it wasn't one big event. There wasn't some dramatic moment where everything fell apart. Nobody flipped a switch. Nobody took my ambition away. It happened gradually. So gradually that I didn't even notice it happening. A lot of people talk about major turning points in their lives. This wasn't one of them. This was more like erosion. The kind that happens so slowly you don't see it until years later. One routine disappears, then another. One goal gets accomplished, nothing replaces it. A little less excitement, a little more comfort. And eventually you wake up and realize that you haven't thought about certain dreams in a very long time. The strange part is that nothing really went wrong. That's what makes it difficult to explain. If something had gone wrong, at least I'd have an answer. Instead, life just became life. Days became predictable, the weeks became predictable, and eventually the years started moving faster than I remembered. Maybe that's part of getting older, or maybe that's what happens when you stop paying attention. I don't know. But lately I've been thinking about how much my life is spent waiting. Waiting until we have more money, waiting until we have more time, waiting until we feel ready, waiting until we know exactly what we're doing. And somewhere along the way, I realized I'd spent a lot of time waiting too. Waiting to feel inspired, waiting to feel motivated, waiting for the version of myself from those old photos to somehow return. As if one morning I'd wake up and suddenly feel exactly the way I used to. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. Because the more I thought about it, the more I realized something. The person I miss wasn't more talented. He wasn't more successful. He wasn't smarter. He wasn't more disciplined. He was more engaged. That's the word I keep coming back to, engaged. He was involved in his own life. When something interested him, he pursued it. When he had an idea, he worked on it. When he wanted to learn something, he learned it. He wasn't sitting around waiting to feel ready. He was participating. And honestly, I think that's what I've missed the most. Not the goals, not the accomplishments, the participation. Because there's a huge difference between observing your life and living it. You can spend years thinking about things, planning things, researching, imagining them, and somehow convince yourself you're making progress. I know because I've done it. I've spent entire evenings thinking about things I've wanted to do without actually doing any of them. And the scary part is that it feels productive. It feels like movement, but it isn't. Looking through those old photos made me realize something. The moments I remember most aren't the moments where I achieved something. They're the moments where I was fully invested in something. The excitement of working on a song, the excitement of chasing a goal, the excitement of feeling like I was becoming someone. Those are the moments that stuck. Not the outcomes, the process. Which is funny because for years I thought the outcome was the whole point. Maybe it isn't. Maybe the thing I've been searching for isn't a new goal. Maybe it's a reason to care about the process again, a reason to be engaged again. And honestly, I think that's part of why I've started making these videos. Not because I think they're amazing. They're not. Not because I think they're going to blow up. They probably won't. But because every time I sit down to write one, record one, and edit one, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. I feel involved, present, like I'm actually participating instead of watching from the sidelines. And maybe that's all I was really looking for. Maybe that's why that photo hit me so hard, because it reminded me that the person I miss isn't gone. He's not hiding somewhere in the past. He's not trapped in an old picture. He's just the version of me that was paying attention. The version of me that was curious. The version of me that got excited about things. And the more I think about it, the more I realize something. I don't need to go back and become that person again. I just need to stop sitting on the sidelines. Because maybe the reason that version of me seemed so alive wasn't because life was different. Maybe it was because he was. And lately, I've been trying to be that way again.